I've cried every year on my birthday for the last 6 years. I've literally kept count. Brittany, it's time to get you free. Like, that's something that we want to be able to help break you from the trigger so you don't have to constantly go back to that spot every time. How do I keep him from triangulating me? He's done it twice with different new supply each time. I feel like I need a little bit more information with that, because triangulation only works when you participate. So, like, if he's bringing you in and talking to you about another person, like, you need to be able to say, like we're going to close the loop on this. And also, like, we need to define some of the piece of triangulating, because sometimes people have different aspects of that. So, like, triangulation a lot of times is when the narcissist is the go-between and is talking, like, to you about another person, to the other person about you, pitting you guys against each other. And typically, if you can actually break that barrier and talk to that person, you can see stuff that's actually happening. But if you already know it's supply, like, I don't know. I need to understand a little bit more that way. Do you know if NPD or ASPD is genetic? My biological father and brother had this. Not necessarily genetic, but you might be more predisposed to struggle with it. Typically, when you get brought up in a narcissistic household, you'll either turn out to be a narcissist, or you'll turn out to be a codependent and be with a narcissist. Like, you'll see that happen a lot of times. Going through divorce after 36 years, cannot wait for him to be out of his life. I'm glad you're going through that, like getting free. Not that you have to go through it, but I'm glad you're getting free. Even after 36 years, you can heal. We've got a lot of clients that have been in marriages for a long period of time that they're finding healing. Okay. Triangulation could be with a dog, work with it 100%. Are bipolar narcissists more dangerous? Narcissism is dangerous as a whole. Like, you add that on top and they might be more dangerous, but like, narcissism is dangerous enough as it is. Cheat on me during my pregnancy, got that woman pregnant, has cheated on her the whole time. Narcissist oftentimes is going to cheat. I'm going to cheat you out of your house, your home, your time, your money, your energy, your spirituality, your sexuality. Like, they're going to cheat. And so typically people are like, why narcissist isn't a cheater? They're all cheaters. It just depends on how they're actually leveraging that and using that. Like, they might be cheating on you physically, emotionally, sexually, financially. Like, there's all different aspects of how they're actually ruining your life. And so it's like, are you going to make a choice to be free? Are you going to make a choice to stand up for you? You might not be able to do that by confronting him. You might be able to do that by you actually finding your freedom, your voice, your confidence, your self-esteem back. If you want to know how to do that, you can click on the link in the bio, escapetoxicity.com, to be able to start moving forward. Many narcissists have ADHD, don't they? Some. Like, I'm not sure I could go through and say all of them do. Sometimes you have ADHD that get misdiagnosed, vice versa, of like a narcissist that they say has ADHD when actually it's just narcissism. Okay. Why after narcissistic abuse, I don't even enjoy sex with others anymore? Probably because of the trauma or the triggers that go back to what brought you into that place to start off with. I tried to tell her, but she doesn't believe me. He lost a job, now lives off of her. And a lot of times you can't warn the new supply. They won't even listen. Is staying at work with my ex-narcissist going to end horribly? Probably. I would say that typically that will happen that way. So be really careful. He escalated the abuse so bad, I finally filed for divorce. Then he wanted therapy. Confusing. It's not confusing from this side. That's normal. I know that's not right, and I know that's not good, but it's actually normal. A narcissist will flip the script. If you look up, I have a YouTube video that goes more in depth, but narcissist at the end of the relationship, I think that's the title of the video. And what you'll see is at the end of the relationship, the narcissist will magically change. He'll magically figure it out. He'll magically start doing all the things that you wanted him to do, not because he had an epiphany, but because he realizes that his manipulation tactics of you no longer work. So he has to change what he's actually doing. Okay. Trying so hard to allow a relationship with our kids, but he is a mess. Told me last night he just isn't going to give me a divorce. I already put the freedom date on the calendar. Yeah, so like, don't too many people focus on like, I have to give my kids a relationship with their dad. And if their dad's toxic, why? Because this whole like keep them under one roof, like make sure they actually have a dad, like that doesn't help them if he's toxic. And it also shows them a lot of times that, hey, mom doesn't care enough about herself to stand up. So I'm glad that you have a freedom date. I'm not putting you down at all. I'm just saying, hey, like doesn't deserve a relationship if he's being toxic. Okay. Is there any benefit to let him know that his stories are inconsistent and call him out for lying? I think it's always great to call everybody out for lying. The thing is, if a narcissist is unwilling to actually acknowledge that and actually like start working on his lies, then you need to run. Like you need to get out of the relationship, because otherwise, like you're just going to be stuck in a toxic relationship. And if you don't have any truth as like the baseline, like nothing's ever going to change. How do I protect my 10-year-old from his manipulation? Part of it would be educating your 10-year-old, not saying, hey, this is what this person does, but making sure he's able to express himself emotionally, working through how does he actually determine how life works, integrity, honesty, all those things. At the end of the day, if you're in a toxic relationship and you have a kid and you're like, I want to protect my kid, I want to help my kid, the biggest way is for you to get healing. Out of your healing comes the redemption of your children. The hard part is so many people focus on their kids first, they don't actually get healed. And so it's like you're trying to pour into your kids out of an empty glass, and you're wondering, like, why is all the stuff I'm doing not working? Sometimes it's because you're setting the example of still getting triggered, still dealing with the abuse, still like struggling and being scared of the stuff that's happening, and you haven't actually healed or been free from it. So understand that that's a big piece in your kids. That's how you're actually helping you. Okay. My narcissistic friends started following me on Instagram. What can that mean? It could mean that they started following on Instagram. I'm not going to read into it a ton. If they're toxic and they're following you and you don't want them following you, block them, ghost, go no contact, put your profile to private. Like at the end of the day, like don't stress about what he's doing. Focus on what you're doing. Because if you're not doing anything towards your healing, like you're still staying stagnant, and narcissist is just going to get closer and closer. Financial, emotional, verbal, now physical. 12 days after total hip replacement, he pushed me walking with a walker. So just understand that it's typically going to keep getting worse, and like that has to change. Like I did a live the other day about talking through a person that contacted me, narcissistic abuse. They lived in North Carolina, and he killed his 11-year-old son. And then he also murdered him, like did suicide, committed suicide for himself, and then he burned the house down. Okay. The other 11-year-old daughter barely got out alive. Like this stuff is real. So all of you are like, hey, he's only hit me like once. Like that's enough to leave. Okay. If the person in your life has already been doing physical domestic violence, like you need to leave, you need to get out, you need to get safe. If he's already strangled you, you're 750 times more likely that he's going to murder you. So you need to understand this shit is real, and you'll need to be able to get out. Okay. Now, if you're struggling with that mentally and emotionally, like, I don't think I can, click on the link in the bio, because that's how we actually help people change their mindset, rewire what they're thinking so they have the confidence to actually leave and move forward in their healing. If they flip the script, how did you change? Like if the narcissist flipped the script, so narcissist is always going to flip the script. If they're not willing to be honest, no change is possible. Part of it came down to me learning how to be honest with myself more than anything else. Like honesty with the self is like the first aspect. How to show your child after he has brainwashed her for years. It's going to be you consistently showing up healthy and you consistently like investing positivity into that person. You have to sometimes wait for them to come around. They're not always going to come around. It might take a while. Like it's really difficult, but there's not a ton that you can do. You can't force the other person to see it. You can't force the other person to change.